Chapter Into the Depths. Helena stood in the briefing room, her finger tracing the holographic map. "My father's office is in the east wing of the island," she explained. "There's a direct path, but we'll need to go below the ocean to reach it. The east wing was submerged long ago." Miles nodded, already forming a plan. "Kira, deploy the mini-submarine. Prep it for launch." "On it!" Kira replied, swiftly issuing commands through her earpiece. Within minutes, Miles, Helena, and Jace stood at the docking bay. The mini-sub gleamed under the dim lights, sleek and compact, designed for tight navigation. Miles and Helena climbed into the front seats, while Jace hopped into the back, flashing a grin. Jace lounged in the back of the mini-sub, arms crossed behind his head, smirking. "Let's hope this thing handles better than Kira's driving. Last time she nearly sent a drone through my skull. Pretty sure she thinks smooth landing means crashing at a slightly lower velocity." Kira's voice crackled through the comms, unimpressed. "Oh, I'm sorry, Jace. Maybe next time I'll let you pilot and see how well you do without flipping us into a trench." Miles smirked from the front seat, glancing at Helena, who was quietly observing their exchange. "Careful, Jace. She's got control over comms and the sub's telemetry. You keep running your mouth and she might accidentally disable your seat restraints." Jace scoffed, shaking his head. "Great. Strapped into a death trap while the woman who drives like she's dodging asteroids holds all the power. What could possibly go wrong?" Kira scoffed. "Oh, Jace, sweetie, on the way back home? Through the wormhole. Remind me to accidentally test the emergency eject sequence on your seat. You can review my piloting skills while tumbling through time." Jace groaned, leaning back. "I take it back. Miles, tell her I take it back." Helena, watching the exchange with quiet amusement, finally spoke. "Your team is very loud." Miles chuckled, shaking his head. "You get used to it." The sub submerged, descending into the depths of the ocean. As they passed through the shimmering surface, an ethereal world unfolded. The ruins of Atlantis stretched out in every direction, a hauntingly beautiful underwater city. Crumbled buildings leaned against one another, their once grand facades now blanketed in coral and seaweed. Glowing veins of metromite crystals pulsed faintly, illuminating the depths with a mystical glow. Massive statues of Atlantean figures stood half buried in the sand, their features worn by time but still exuding an air of majesty. Miles guided the sub carefully, weaving through towering pillars and the skeletal remains of grand structures. "Incredible!" he murmured, his eyes fixed on the scenery. Jace pressed his face to the window, his voice dripping with mock reverence. "So this is the famous Atlantis! Looks like someone forgot to pay the maintenance fees." Helena glanced over her shoulder, her lips curving into a faint smile. "You'd be surprised how beautiful it was before it all fell apart." The sub turned a corner, revealing an enormous archway covered in glowing Atlantean glyphs. The team marveled at the sight, but their moment of awe was interrupted by Kira's urgent voice over the comms. "Miles, we've got trouble. Scion signatures are closing in, 13 of them, heading straight for you." Miles's grip on the controls tightened. "Deploy the water drones. I want a 360-degree scan and eyes on every angle." The drones shot out from the sub, their lights cutting through the darkness. Moments later, the first Scion emerged from the shadows. Its mutated body moved with terrifying speed, its glowing eyes fixed on the sub. It slammed into the hull, shaking the vessel violently. "Here we go," Miles muttered, steering sharply to avoid another incoming Scion. The chase was on. The Scion swarmed the sub, clawing at its hull and trying to ram it into the ruins. Miles maneuvered expertly, weaving between fallen pillars and debris. One Scion lunged, only to be struck by a collapsing column as Miles dodged at the last second. "These guys don't give up, do they?" Jace shouted, gripping the seat as the sub jolted again. Helena stayed calm, pointing ahead. "There's a narrow path through those ruins. If we can get through, we might lose some of them." Miles guided the sub into the passage, but the Scions followed relentlessly. He activated the sub's shockwave weapon, releasing a powerful pulse that rippled through the water. The closest Scions were thrown back, tumbling into each other in the surrounding ruins. "That'll keep them busy," Miles said, but his relief was short-lived. Kira's voice crackled through again. Guys? You've got something big coming your way." From the depths, a massive shark emerged, its jaws snapping around one of the scions. The creature thrashed violently, scattering the mutants. The team watched in awe and horror as the shark tore through the scions, reducing their numbers. "Now that's a distraction!" Jace yelled. Miles didn't waste the opportunity. He pushed the sub forward, leaving the chaos behind. The East Wing loomed ahead, its docking station glowing faintly with metromite veins. The sub docked smoothly, and the team climbed out, their boots hitting the metallic platform with a hollow echo. The entrance to Helena's father's office was partially collapsed, covered in seaweed and barnacles. Inside, the space was a haunting blend of brilliance and decay. Scientific equipment lay scattered and rusted, their designs intricate and futuristic. Atlantean glyphs glowed faintly on the walls, and a large mural of the city in its prime dominated one side of the room. Helena stepped forward, her voice soft but steady. "This is where my father worked. If there's any clue to the location of the core orichalcum, it'll be here." Miles and Jace followed her into the ruins, their footsteps echoing in the eerily silent space. Dust and debris covered the once pristine surfaces, and the faint hum of metromite energy seemed to reverberate through the walls. Helena stopped in front of the mural, studying it closely. "These glyphs? They're part of an emergency system my parents designed. They hid the core's location in the city's history, encoded in symbols only Atlanteans would understand." Jace whistled low. "So, what are we looking at? A riddle? A treasure map? Or both?" Helena's lips twitched in the faintest hint of a smile. "Both. Let's get to work."